Welcome back to the Irish Mag Show, our first podcast of 2025. It still feels weird to say it. A belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of our listeners and all our Irish Mags members. Thank you all for supporting the show throughout 2024. We have big plans for 2025, so make sure you're following and subscribing across all the channels to stay on board. I'm Paul, and I'm joined by Alan and Krisho this week. The Dream Team is reunited to kick off the new year. Lads, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How were your holidays? Alan, we'll go to you first. I'm sure there's nothing to report. You had a nice, quiet, festive period.
Always had a nice, quiet, festive period. Plenty of football to be watched. That's all I ever do. Let's be honest about it. So that's all I did. It was great.
And overdosing on Monster throughout the entire Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Krisho, overdosing on Guinness, red wine, or Calpol? Because I heard you weren't feeling too well.
I wasn't well. For going to mass. It's my fault for going to mass on Christmas Eve. I was surrounded by old people. They were coughing all over me. I was trying to be polite about it. You know, when people go, you offer your shaking your hands thing. You know, and I was kind of trying to fist bump these old people, but they were like, "No, come here, best of luck." And they were coughing all, and I was thinking, this is not going to go well. So I got sick after Christmas dinner, directly after Christmas dinner, which didn't go down with the person who cooked it because they thought they'd done something wrong. And then I got into bed and I woke up on the morning of the 31st of December, and I lost I'd say I lost about 10 pounds, but I didn't. I put them back on because we went out on the 31st, New Year's Eve, that night, because I was told that I was being very grumpy and very kind of moany, and I should go out and enjoy myself. So I did. And
that's not like you.
I had two glasses. I had two
never
glasses.
Been grumpy and moany.
Yeah. I had 2 glasses of red wine, and I was drunk out of my mind. Just off 2 glasses of red wine.
Cheap date. That's what you want.
That's it. So again, all good, lads. And watch Newcastle be.
It all sounds like standard Krisho behavior to me. Drunk on 2 glasses of wine, grumpy and moany, but enjoying himself.
They're Tuesdays. That's what they are.
Alan, I never thought I'd say that Krisho is too cool for mass because he's going around mass fist bumping everyone when it's coming for the sign of peace. Yeah, there you go. Krisho is too cool for mass.
Fair play.
You heard it here first.
Right.
Well, it's great to be back, lads. We gave ourselves a little break from the show, obviously, to enjoy the festive period. Mine was good too. I was a bit sick as well on the build up to Christmas, so I didn't really go out or consume much alcohol in the build up. And then I more than made up for it between Christmas and New Year's. I went completely off the rails, and I was a broken man stumbling into the new year. So again, that's probably a standard behavior as well for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But every time you're feeling a bit down, you just go and watch a Newcastle United game, and they cheer you straight back up, because what a December it has been for Newcastle United. And that's what we're going to talk about for most of the show today. Since we last recorded, lads, I can confirm that Newcastle are fucking class after some unreal results throughout December.
Absolutely.
We're going to preview some of those games, big wins against some big teams as well, and one particularly shit team, which I know we're going to enjoy talking about. Then we're going to also have a quick chat about the upcoming game, because there's no time to waste. In just 2 days' time, at the time of recording, we travel to Spurs, who are another basket case of a club. And I'm sure we're secretly looking forward to that, because, yeah, we can do them over again. I think anyway. And then for the spotlight, because it's a new year, new us, we are going to have our 2025 predictions for Newcastle United this year. So each of us have come up with 3 predictions of things we think will happen this year. And I expect them to be nothing but sensible and logical as always, because that's all you've ever come to expect. Oh, sorry, Krisho, you're here. Okay, I don't know what these are going to include. Krisho has got his crystal ball ready, along with his glass of red wine. So I have no idea what Krisho thinks is going to happen this year. But I'm sure whatever it is, we'll be looking back on it in 12 months' time to say, what the fuck was Krisho talking about? As we normally do.
Absolutely.
Right, let's get into it, guys. Couple of games happened since we last recorded. We're going to talk about just the last couple of games in particular. I mean, overall, what we're talking 5 wins in a row, 4 clean sheets in the league, which is just unheard of, really, for us. Martin Dubravka's barely had to make a save. He's having a great time just going to work and not really having to do any work. Sounds a bit like Krisho, actually. And in the last 2 games in particular, we've basically gone and smashed Aston Villa 3-0. And then there was that game against Manchester United, which we're going to come to very shortly. We'll quickly talk about Aston Villa, though, lads, because as games go, you know, Villa are a very good team. They've been a bit kind of hit and miss this season. I think, like us last year, they're getting used to the Champions League football, even though they're probably playing better in the Champions League than they are in the league. But I think the extra games, the extra strain and mentality required, as much as it hit us, as well as injuries, I think it's definitely testing them. And, you know, individually, I think some players just haven't been in the same form, so much so that Ollie Watkins has even dropped. But that turned out to work very well in our favor, because the man who, let's be honest, probably was the main man to fear in that game along with Morgan Rogers, went and got himself sent off, Alan. John Duran with a bit of a stamp, but to be honest, by the time he got sent off, we were very much in control of that game. And we probably even, I mean, we've done this before. We probably played better when it was 11-on-11 than we did when they went down to 10.
We did, and it was actually, I know a couple of Villa fans, and I actually said to one, and he was like, the red card changed the game. I was like, the red card didn't change the game. I was like, actually, the red card actually made it better for yourselves. I was like, we were 1-0 up after 2 minutes. You hadn't had a shot on target when Duran was sent off. You hadn't touched the ball when Duran had been sent off. Then all of a sudden, you went compact. You went 4-4-0, and just literally wait and tried to hold out. And he just didn't hold out. But the red card arguably made it harder for Newcastle to try and break Villa down, because they just went compact and didn't let any movement in. So don't know really what the fans are talking about, saying that Duran's red card changed the game, because it arguably made it easier for Villa to just sit back and not come at us. So don't know what they're talking about.
And I mean, it was a red card. Let's be honest, it was. A lot of people, Alan Shearer said it wasn't. A lot of other pundits were like, no, it wasn't. But if you really watch it, he had plenty of time to not move and put his right foot on.
My argument is, don't give the referee the opportunity to send you off. If Shar's red card at the start of the season is a red card, well, then that's obviously the exact same type. Well, not the same type of thing, but it's the same like category of offence where he didn't really do much, but like you letter of the law. And the other argument is, you can't stamp on someone and get away with it. Like, I don't care. Oh, he was falling. He still stood on someone twice. He has to go. It's the end.
Yeah, I think that Shearer's point was probably like, Shearer probably thinks it's not a red card because he thinks that those offences shouldn't get red cards, but by the letter of the law, they do, right?
Yeah.
As you look back on it, and they did look back on it, to be fair, it didn't take them as long as I thought it might. I kind of, as I was watching it in real time, you could tell the reaction mainly of, it was the crowd, and in particular Dubravka came running out. And there was one other player that was behind, I can't remember who it was.
Dan Byrne, I think it was.
It was kind of their reactions that made me kind of go, okay, there was
what's happened here,
And it almost looks like, you know, it almost looks like Duran, his leg was going away. He's kind of pulled it in, went to do something malicious, and then half pulled out at the last second. All happens very quickly, obviously. But I think, like Alan said, you're asking to be sent off if you do that, because we know how football is these days. It's not like it was. And Shearer played in times when it was a lot different. So I think that's where his mentality is at. But yeah, you're right. I don't think it didn't change the game. Obviously, look, that goal by Anthony Gordon, and we're going to talk about early goals in a minute, but that strike from Anthony Gordon, it was almost like, I'm fully back, lads, because he's had a kind of a slow start to the season. He was getting a lot better in the last couple of months. I mean, December, nearly every player has played brilliantly, but that was just confident, arrogant. Anthony Gordon is back. Positive arrogance, I should say.
That's a world-class goalkeeper. That's a world-class goalkeeper, and he completely caught them on a hop. He barely even saw it, let alone just died for it. But I mean, I thought it was going to be another. He likes to turn in on the right. He likes to take these curling shots, but it looks so nearly nonchalant how he did it. He totally caught Villa completely on the hop. The whole defense, the goalkeeper, everything, and it was just superfluous. Frankly, it was a peach of a goal. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, all right, we could be on a rich vein of form here, but we're so good when we get an early lead. We really are, and we've proven it the last couple of games, which I know we'll talk about now in a minute, but that goal was delicious. Joe Linton bursting through, Tonali doing his cleanup, which we've got here on the back here. The game changer, the season changer, Tonali in the number 6, helping Bruno go forward, and Joe Linton bursting through the middle. I mean, honestly, guys, we are, like, we've said it before, we have frightening players, honestly. We can catch any team and destroy them in milliseconds, like we did against Man Red the other night. In milliseconds, the game was nearly over. But yeah, that strike by Gordon was brilliant.
Yeah, and I suppose we could talk about it now because, I mean, we've all seen the Man United game since, but this newfound confidence has suddenly, it's kind of lit a fire under us from the kickoff, which is where we used to be. I think for the first, if you're looking at some of those dodgy games like West Ham and Brighton and Bournemouth and Wolves, confidence just didn't seem to be there in the system and in the I suppose the comfort to take control. But in these last games, particularly in December, right? And I have some numbers for you here, lads. Okay, obviously in the Man United game, Isak scored after 4 minutes. In the Villa game, Gordon scores after 2. Against Ipswich, Isak scores after 1. Against Brentford, Tonali scores after 9 minutes. 4 of the last 5 games we've scored within the first 10 minutes. And I feel like we're very good once we do go ahead. It's kind of rare enough that I have seen us like switch off or drop down gears, like the Man United game in particular.
Yeah,
I think we should have gone on to beat them 5-0, but instead I think we just went, games, we're in control of this. We can defend against these. It is what it is. We're away in Old Trafford. But we're in both these games against Villa with the 10 men and then Man United just being absolutely shit at football. It's nice to just see us, okay, well, we'll just lock down. We can take control of this game, not have to overexert ourselves. And I don't know, Alan, like, are we doing anything differently when it comes to these early goals and kickoff? Is it a case of like, this is intent? We've been watching Brentford do this since the start of the season.
It's nothing different that we're doing, bar we're scoring goals. All the games that we lost or we didn't play well in, every single time we said the first 15 minutes we were on top and then we died a death. But this, now we're scoring the goal and the confidence is running and we're going and we're building on a 1-0 lead. Especially at St. James's Park, if we go 1-0 up, teams are going, oh, good God, like how the hell are we going to get back into this? This team are full of confidence, full of running. They're just going to keep coming at us. And the goals, like 2 and 3 minutes into a game, especially against Villa, you could visibly see the Villa players go, oh no, we're 1-0 down. They slumped, their shoulders dropped, and then it was essentially game over after 5 minutes. Nothing had really changed, but we knew that they weren't going to get back into the game.
Yeah, and on one sense, you could say this is we're just taking the chances that we weren't taking before. I mean, we're still missing quite a few chances. Isak is having a little bit of a one-on-one problem. I'm not too worried about it. I think that's something they can just watch back and say, this is what you need to do. This is what
put your foot through it.
Yeah, exactly. Put the laces behind it. But at the same time, I just feel like there's a confidence now in each other. And for me, it all comes back to the minimalization of change, right? I mean, everybody knows the situation. Tonali's been put in as a 6. The midfielder's looking a lot stronger. Why didn't that happen sooner? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But for me, it comes down towards this level of confidence because you're playing what is, in general, the same 11 players, with the exception of forced changes, like we've had a couple of suspensions here and there. And when it's coming to set pieces, when it's coming to attacking phases, these are players now who've built up this familiarity, who've built up this confidence in each other, this kind of intuition of knowing where players are going to be. And for me, like, I'm going to come to Isak in a moment, but like Lewis Hall personifies this for me perfectly. Like Bruno, Tonali, they're starting to know where he's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's where he's suddenly, popping up and either cutting inside or breaking out, overlapping and getting these crosses in. His delivery is great. Him and Gordon have this understanding big time. I think that Gordon's improvement is definitely off the back of a confidence in Lewis Hall. So like Gordon does work back and he's willing to do the hard work, but he's also like chasing down goalkeepers and opposition fullbacks. Like when we're doing this full press, and especially in the first 15 minutes, he's just never going to get back all the time. But he has that confidence in Lewis Hall, whether it's Lewis Hall's positioning, his awareness, or his recovery pace, that he knows that Lewis Hall will have him covered if he does get exposed or if the opposition are targeting that side.
That 28 million.
That dynamic for me.
Steal.
28 million, yeah. In hindsight, yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's an absolute steal. I'm going to mention him in a little while during our spotlight as well for the prediction. But it for me, that just personifies this newfound kind of tactical familiarity, this synergy, this cohesion within the team, which in turn, I suppose, breeds confidence in the unit overall, in each other's individual ability and in the setup, because they're now like, they're not worried. They're not apprehensive. We still have sloppy passes in us. Particularly
Shar's pass, 2-0, 1-0, 2-0.
Shar's done it. I've seen Jacob Murphy do it a few times. Joe Linton. We get the ball stuck in our feet every now and again as well. So it's not a perfect system or setup at all. But if we can go out, we can hound teams early and get that early goal. as we've seen in those last few games, teams then find it very hard to break us down, and we then grow and grow in confidence as that progresses. Alan, I have to talk about one man, and this man has now scored in 6 league games in a row, is arguably the most informed striker in the Premier League
in the world
at the moment, as it stands.
Mhm.
And for me, he's still probably only at about 70-80% of what he can do, as we said, in particular with those one-on-ones, for example. But I mean, every other team or fan base think they're geniuses when they're tweeting out, "Oh, we should go and spend 100 million on Isak."
Yeah.
Good luck with that. But for me, it's more a case of every other team and fan base should be fearing Alexander Isak.
Oh yeah,
because there's no striker in the league like him. And I just, if this is how good, I mean, it's been 1 month, it's been December, but if he can replicate this consistently, what are we talking about in the summer? Like, I can't believe this guy plays for us.
Genuinely, if he could keep this going for continuous, like for a season, you're talking a Ballon d'Or player there. I know that's an outrageous show, but if he continues this form for an entire season, that's Ballon d'Or-esque style of football. He is terrifying. Speaking to my brother about him the other day, who's an Arsenal fan, he's like, will he play in the Carabao Cup? And I was like, yeah, he will. We want to win the Carabao Cup. And he's like, oh, well, he's going to beat us in the Carabao Cup then. That was the only thing he cared about. He's like, will he play? Yes, he will. Okay, he's going to beat us then. That's the type of player he is. Doesn't matter what's around him. He will score you goals. He'll make you goals. He'll cause mistakes out of defenders. He will just hassle and harry and just... He is the complete striker. Like, don't get me wrong. Haaland is a wonderful goal scorer. Isak is an outstanding striker. World class is an understatement for him. So it's just... What more can you say about him? Everything he does turns to goals at the minute, which is exactly what you want for a centre forward. And he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. I can't wait to see him do it in a black and white jersey.
Yeah, and Krisha, I wanted to ask as well. It's a striker, a confident striker, a striker in form is just glorious to watch, because the goals, they get into the right places, right times, and the goals just seem to come. I'm still trying to figure out, like, is this a change in Isak in terms of his match fitness, his sharpness, his confidence? There was a lot of talk at the beginning of the season for, let's say, September, October, that we weren't really supplying him either. We weren't kind of creating the chances.
This is what it is. This is what it is. Ball. He's not. He wasn't getting the ball. We had attacking phases, but the end of the attacking phase didn't end up with Isak getting across into him or the ball. You saw the beautiful cross that Gordon did, and he got that goal against Arsenal, the header. I think Isak confirmed himself. I think last week at the interview that he's never scored so many headed goals in his career. It's not really his game, but he's been working on it. He's in the right place. How he's not being picked up, I don't know, seeing as the best striker in bloody Europe at the moment. But he's finding areas where they're kind of coming across the box. They can't get across and they're going back across, but they're doing it with such purpose that he knows exactly where that ball is going to be within 2 or 3 yards. But he's kind of he's a target man. Even for the long ball running over the top, he's the target man. They know his kind of skill set now. They've definitely worked on it in training where he should be. And that's the change. That's definitely happened. Gordon's looking for him. Hall's looking for him. Murphy's always looking for him. Bruno's looking for some cheeky passes through the middle, just outside the box, just to play him through. So it's constantly looking for Isak. Whereas before he was kind of wandering about. He wasn't really getting the ball. He was donkeying left and right, chasing after goalkeepers, not really getting anything, or maybe getting a quick shot off. And you think, oh God, we should get the ball more. But what has changed absolutely is that there's a definite focus now. Get the ball into Isak, either to his feet or into the box, because he can do it all. Volleys, headers, overheads, the goal against Ipswich, his second goal where Murphy kind of did that kind of funky back heel. If you go back and watch that, everybody that listens to us, go back and watch that goal, how class that was, the way he trapped it with his right foot and just poked it to the right. That is unbelievable skill. And I know all of us have played football before, but that is true world-class striking ability. So, yeah, I'm just glad that they've figured it out. They've got the midfield and the third phase of our attacking correct. We're overpowering teams. We're making teams look very, very ordinary, like really ordinary. We're the only team that has even slightly touched Liverpool this season. We're the only team that's even given them half a game. Well, apart, didn't they lose?
Forest beat them. That was the only one. Yeah.
Well, Forest are playing like us 2 years ago. I don't know what's going on there. Chris Wood's turned into Ronaldo. But the goal, do you see the goal he scored, Chris Wood, where he knocked it over dinosaur hands? Honestly, but so it's all about basically the focus of getting it into Isak. Like you said, Al, he is on form. He knows what he's doing. He's enjoying playing for the club. And I think him, like Bruno and everybody else, I think they just want us to win something.
Just on that, it puts an end to the whole argument of just put Gordon on the right and play Barnes on the left. That's finished with.
Yeah,
that's done and dusted. We have a left winger in Anthony Gordon, and we have a backup left winger in Harvey Barnes. We have a right winger in Jacob Murphy, and we kind of have a somewhat backup in Mickey Almiron. That's the end of it. We cannot be shoehorning players into positions anymore. Buy players for the system that you know can play in the system. Yeah. And then you can worry about these things. Harvey Barnes is a left winger, and the last 3 or 4 games have proven why Gordon is our number one choice and why Barnes will not go on the right-hand side.
I agree. Barnes is, it might be the barn door this January. I don't know, but it seems like that there's this. I know we're going to move on to it, but there seems like a suggestion that Barnes is not happy with not starting. So I don't blame him. No. But hopefully we can get some good money from him, maybe. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's we can put him on the right. I don't think we should be starting games as a plan. But when you're 70 minutes, 80 minutes into a game at the intensity we play, if he needs to go onto the right, he can go on the right. That's not Gordon, and that could be tactical tweaks. We could be trying to get back into a game, trying to get a winner, or even if we're just winning comfortably, of course it can be done. But it's not plan A. Plan A, as Alan is saying, is Gordon on the left. And where you get the extra benefit there is, I think we've talked about this before, Gordon knows that left-hand spot is open for England. There's a new manager now in place. Gordon knows he's not really ever going to probably compete with Saka to play on the right for England, right? He doesn't want to because he prefers to play on the left. His competition on the left is a lot less, I would say, in terms of the England chances. So, you want Gordon to be in the position he wants to be in with the extra motivation of, well, I can do this for England in the next big tournament and all the qualifiers, whatever it is. It's cracking to see. And I like the idea of a Hall Gordon, as much as I don't particularly love England. The idea of Hall and Gordon on the left-hand side together for club and country it's fairly quality. Didn't Saka support Newcastle as a kid?
His dad did. Saka is an Arsenal fan. His dad was a Newcastle fan. Yeah, so as much as we love it, I cannot see us going out and snapping up anytime soon.
That'll be a turn up for the books, isn't it? There's a prediction for you, getting Saka in the summer. No, screw it. Let's go.
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. No. I hope that's not one of your predictions for later.
No. That's just an extra one. That's just an extra one thrown in.
Unreal, lads. Right. Other things that happened then. Isak scoring the first hat trick in a Newcastle jersey for 5 years. It's always lovely to see. Delicious. It's great that curse is finally broken. To be fair, we all know who the last player to score that hat trick for Newcastle was.
Ayotte Perez.
Correct. There you go.
That was an answer in the Christmas quiz that you took part in like 2 weeks ago. You answered these questions. I asked them.
The man is full of red wine and Calpol.
I'm not. My brain's gone a bit. Sorry, lads.
But with that, then obviously, finishing out on the Aston Villa game, we saw Isak and Joel Linton complete the scoring in that 3-0 win, and then the same duo went to Old Trafford and basically did the same thing again. We can move on to Man United, lads, because even though it was a kind of an edgy second half, let's say, I think that opening 25 minutes of that game was the most crack I ever had. Watching Newcastle play, just in terms of what I was seeing on the screen, it was hilarious. It was borderline. Are we playing a League Two club here? Do you know?
Gary Neville melting down was. He said, "What was he say? Pound for pound, the worst football team." And I was like, "This is delicious." I mean, it was like as if their midfield didn't exist, which passing around.
It was crazy. Yeah.
I text one of the lads when the Man United team was announced, and I was like, he's not actually playing Casemiro and Eriksen against Tonali, Bruno and Joe Linton, is he? And he was like, I think I was like, we're going to beat you 8-0. purely because of that midfield. And he's like, no, it won't be that bad. He texted me after about half an hour of the match, and he was like, mother of God, what is going on here? I was like, your midfield is 172 years old against a team. All we do is run. I was like, the only thing that our team does is run like lunatics. And he was like, I didn't think about that. And I was like, I thought about that. Everyone on planet Earth thought about that.
Yeah.
Ruben Amorim didn't think about that. I couldn't believe that was the centre midfield partnership he went with. Because even when he brought Mainu on after half an hour, it sort of short them up. They never looked like scoring, which was a really weird thing to say about Man United at Old Trafford. They never looked like scoring. Even when they had their chances, they were putting them wide, and it was never clear-cut opportunities. There was never a time where I'm going, geez, Dubravka pulled us out there. It was a last-ditch tackle. I was like, they could still be there now. They wouldn't have scored against us.
Well, the two biggest chances came from... Sorry, Fisher. The two biggest chances, one was Casemiro and one was Harry Maguire. I think he headed off the post or something.
Yeah.
It just kind of sums up where they are in terms of their attacking threat. But I think, with that midfield, I don't know if is it a case that Mainu isn't fully fit or something, but it just made no sense. And all of us, average Joe football fans, we could see this happening. We could see this coming. Once you saw, it was Casemiro and Eriksen midfield. And it's not even just the running, I mean, you have the physicality of Joe Linton. You have just like the technical quality, passing ability, vision of Bruno. And then you have Tonali, who obviously you have the energy levels, but also just the football brain, like the awareness. They just picked them apart, and they didn't even make it look hard.
No.
And there was just so much space to bypass them as well.
Yeah, people say you could drive a bus through that space, right? You could literally drive 3 buses side by side through the space that Eriksen and Casemiro left. It was unbelievable. Like, we could have, for the first 45 minutes, it was like a kind of a training match. It was embarrassing. I was actually embarrassed for Manchester United. It was honestly, the only thing that I could say negatively, and I love going there, is that I think we should have smashed them. Yeah. And I mean smashed them, like 5-0, 6-0, made a holy hames of them, and just walked away going, that was nothing. You guys are useless. Good luck. But I don't know why it got cagey. I have no idea. Did he change the tactics in the second half? Did Man United start playing better? I don't know. It just went a bit arseways. I thought we were going to come out and smash them again, but it didn't happen.
I think it honestly came down to a thing where the Newcastle players themselves went, we don't need to overexert ourselves here to get a result. Let's not pick up any mad injuries. We have a cup quarter final in a couple of weeks' time. Let's not go mad. Let's get the result and get out of here. I was a little bit disappointed myself. I would have loved nothing more than to say, we've just left Old Trafford and we've just won 5-0. That would have been amazing. Come here. At the end of the day, goal difference doesn't really mean too much, although you'd like to see it in the positive. Getting our second win in 50 odd years in Old Trafford in the league, that's more important in my eyes. We got the win, we get out there, and that's the end of it. So happy.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of complacency.
Yeah.
After that half an hour mark, we were 2-0 up. There was a disallowed goal. There was a Tonali chance.
Smashed it.
What a finish for that goal, though.
Unbelievable, like ridiculous finish,
yeah.
Honestly. And it shows you, again, what Isak can do, the range of goals he can score. Yeah. I mean, even looking at the Liverpool goal. In fact, if anyone hasn't done it already, I know it was tweeted out by a fan account. I think it was the Ginger Perlo guy tweeted out all of Isak's goals. And then I think the club actually tweeted it out as well. If you haven't gone and watched all of Isak's goals for Newcastle United, that's where you'll see the quality of some of the finishes that this guy can do. But again, just to show you what I had in his locker, that finish, it just deserved to be a goal more than anything, So I think at that point, it was like, it should have been 4-0.
Yeah.
And this is when, Neville was having his meltdown, the fans are going crazy. Xerxes gets taken off. The poor fella gets just roasted by his own fans. Grow up.
He wasn't their worst player. He was the scapegoat today.
He was just sacrificial.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah. And I was like, why are they hooking him? I would have hooked Casemiro, or I would have either of the midfielders would have hooked before him. Yeah, stinking they were.
Didn't make any sense. I mean, it was a tactical change, and he had to take one, but ridiculous the way they're treating a young player who's in his first season for them. It shows you what you're dealing with. But yeah, I think then second half, to Man United's credit, they got themselves back into it. But we also have to remember they're at home in Old Trafford. It is a hard place to go to for a lot of clubs, especially us in the past. So I think the fact that we held it is a testament to the resolve, the mentality, the togetherness, the cohesion, to yes, I would have loved to see them beat them 5-0. I think we should have beat them 5-0. And it would be lovely to have one of those, results that we always look back on. But do you know what? They were so poor. It's like 2-0 is fine. We'll take the win and move on. And to come out unscathed is fine. The biggest grey cloud, Crisho, Fabian Scher, unfortunately decided to wrestle a man to the ground, got himself booked.
It was just silly.
Which means he's suspended now for the next game.
It was just silly. It happened all game, as you saw. They say Hoyland, his name's Hoyland, Hoyland can't hold the ball up. I think he can. I think fair play to him. He's only a young lad. He's going to grow and get bigger and stronger, but I thought he did quite well, actually. And Scher's a bit of a snake, let's be honest. He gets very close to players. Gives them a little nudge here, gives them a little nudge there. But what was he doing? Like, that was WWE again. That was a Paul Dunwood-esque tackle. He just threw him to the ground and held on to him while he was on the ground. And I kind of thought to myself, God, did he want a week off or what? Because he's only going to tell me he's only going to miss Tottenham, right? He's not going to miss.
He's out of the cup game as well, but that's because of yellow cards in the cup. That's nothing to do with that yellow card.
Oh, right, okay.
He's suspended for the next 2 games, but that's because of accumulation of this yellow cards.
We all know what delicious thing is going to happen now. Is that Mr. Rolls Royce is going to swoon back in?
100%. That's the man who comes in for the Arsenal game.
Is it Byrne and Botman?
It'll be Byrne and Kelly for the league and Byrne and Botman for the cup, I think.
Yeah. That's
what
I think might happen.
Kelly and Botman for the cup. Wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility.
Is Kelly left-footed? Is Kelly left-footed as well?
They're all left-footed, yeah.
Kelly, Byrne. Yeah, they're all left-footed.
Oh,
which look, you can get by. I know. I mean, your perfect scenario is a right-sided centre back and a left-sided centre back, but you can get by with 2 left. I mean, 15 years ago, no one cared. It was like, oh, you're good in the air and you're strong. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're left or right footed. So you can get by, obviously, but it's more the case of just changing what has been a very strong, successful back four over the last kind of 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's the concern, I suppose.
This hasn't been said in a long time. Man Red are 7 points off the relegation zone.
Delighted for them.
And teams below them have a game in hand. Excellent. So it's kind of, I mean, honestly, a couple of more poor games in January, and there's a good lot of games in January, a couple of more bad results, and they're down in the bottom 3, which is one of the best starts to 2025 we could ever wish for, the whole lot of us.
They could honestly lose 10-0 against Liverpool on Sunday. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool bet them 10-0. I'd be like, yeah, that's the golden standard right there. That's how bad Man United are at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's the standard, but it's also the mentality of a team.
Yeah.
In terms of effort, in terms of togetherness, in terms of, it's just a mess. And I think, for me, nothing sums it up more than the fact that Marcus Rashford sat on that bench in Old Trafford, best seat in the house, to watch the game for the entire 93 minutes and didn't even get brought on. No. You know, that it was one of those things where I was like, and I disliked the guy greatly. And it was one of those things where I was like, this would be the game now where they throw him on because they've no choice. They don't want to, but they have to. And he'll go and score. It'll just piss me off.
Yeah.
But it actually just sums up where they are, that they didn't even bring him on.
Right. Forget his wages. Forget his wages. Oh, would you take him? Forget his wages. Would you take him on the right?
Absolutely not. No interest. And again, he wants to play on the left. He wants to play on the left. We have a player who's far superior to him on the left already. We don't have space for him. We don't have a place for him, genuinely, for many reasons.
All right,
but
Marcus,
no, I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't take him.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, Marcus. Go off and play your football somewhere else. Right, we'll finish up with some good news that was just announced. I think it was today.
Yes.
Which was that we have 2 players nominated for Player of the Month in Alexander Isak and Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy.
Go on, Jacob Murphy.
Player of the Month. I mean, just for vibes and banter, I'd love to see it. And of course, Eddie Howe nominated for Manager of the Month. If you haven't already, listeners, and if it's still open by the time you're listening to this,
open until next Monday is when it ends.
Okay. So if you're listening to this before Monday, the 6th of January, get over to the Premier League website and make sure you're voting for Isak or Murphy. I think Isak is growing out of the momentum.
Isak, please, because I need him in my FIFA team.
There you go. That's all that matters for Adam.
Yeah.
Hashtag vote Isak for Adam.
He's in there with Alexander Arnold, who's gone to Real Madrid, Lol, Gibbs White, Murphy, Isak, 2 Newcastle players, Palmer, Anthony Robinson,
Huysen and Salah.
Mo Salah.
So yeah, get yourselves on voting, but it would be, I think it would just sum up the month perfectly if we were to have the player and the manager of the month, because
We
by all
deserve it.
accounts, it's basically been almost a perfect month. And it's just, like it started off with that 3-3 draw against Liverpool, which, in hindsight is a fantastic result. Could have beaten them. And God, I'm just looking forward to see what comes next, which will come to very shortly. Because before we finish off the show, we will be chatting about the Tottenham game that's coming up. But lads, before we do that, I think we need to have a little chat about the new year, new us, Newcastle, our 2025 predictions for the year. And just listeners, a peek behind the curtain. We didn't really talk about it with each other beforehand, so we don't really know what's coming out here. Krisho's holding a wooden spoon in his hand. I don't know what he's planning to do with that. That's alarming that it's so close to where he records his podcasts. I'm not sure why it's there, but that's Krisho's news. So we really wanted to just talk about things we think will happen this calendar year in 2025. There's obviously an element of hope in here. I mean, we are Newcastle fans. You need hope in order to survive. But mainly it's things we think will happen in the calendar year of 2025, so that we can look back in 12 months' time and see who's Paul the Octopus. Obviously, it's me. In terms of their predictions, or who's the wooden spoon, Chris Show.
That's it.
In terms of looking into the crystal ball. Alan, we're going to start with you first for your first prediction of 2025.
So my first prediction will be one that will arguably go down with a lead balloon with season ticket holders and go down like the best things in sliced bread with everyone else. And that is that we will announce that we are leaving St. James's Park. We will not be leaving to go very far. We'll be going 100 meters up the road to Lees's Park, and it'll be St. James's at Lees's or something like that. Won't be too much of a change, but it will be a new stadium. And let's be honest, people do not like change, so we'll only see how that one will go.
Yeah, Jesus.
Okay, so you're predicting the club will announce that we're going to build a new stadium. It may be a long time before we move into it, of course.
It won't be before Euro 2028 anyway, because James is ratified as one of the stadiums. So they will not get rid of that money just to get a new stadium. So it won't be 2030-ish, I'd say.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I would be inclined to agree. I think it's going to happen as well. I think the club have been sounding it out. I know that, what's his name? Brad, insert surname here.
Brad Miller.
Could be Miller. I always forget his surname, and that's bad. He was at one of the fan events in the, he's basically our CFO
COO or something like that. I don't know.
And I think he was sounding out the idea with fans in like a big kind of a fan group. So it sounds like they're testing the waters there, and to be honest, it sounds like the most logical or realistic option if the club really wants to go and build potentially the biggest stadium in the country, for example, or the best arena for other things too. Okay, interesting.
Wow.
Krisho, can we have your first prediction for 2025?
Yeah. We're going to finish third in the league. And it's going to be quite a disappointment, because we'll have pushed Liverpool very, very hard up until the last 3 weeks of the season.
Wow.
And we'll end up getting third. Just in the last day of the season, we'll get third. And it'll be. Look, I'm usually kind of erring on the negative, but I'm going to be very positive for our fans and people who listen in, and all Newcastle community. We are going to smash the second half of the season. Smash it. And I mean smash it. And we're going to really push, and people are going to start talking way more about Newcastle. Forget about the cups and everything else for a second, just the league, and we're going to get right close to Liverpool. They're going to have a few dodgy results, and we're going to start catching up with everybody, and we're going to get third in the league. There you go.
As a man once famously said, I would love it. I would love it if that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I think it's a slight stretch for third, and the only reason I'll say that is I just feel like something is going to come along, and something bad always happens, and again, that's just history. No. That's just a bitter of me. I feel like there is. I'm not even going to say an example of what might happen, because I'll make it happen by saying it. But I just feel like there is a bump that might derail that. And I'll come to it in one of my predictions. I do think there is potential for something like this, and it also involves stuff going on at other teams. But I'll come back to that. That's not my first prediction.
Now it's your turn.
So my first prediction, I'm going to go with a slightly transfer-related one. I think that in the summer, it will depend on other things that have happened, but I think in the summer, we may see one of Lewis Hall or Tino Livramento linked with a move to a very, very, very big European club, not even just an English club. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. I think we're in a world where fullbacks, wingbacks who can do both, like attacking, defending, crossing, the whole lot. You know, there's a lot of fullbacks out there, but not a lot of them. Not all of them are elite standard. And I think the way we play is really starting to make these two guys shine. Hall, obviously, in particular, and obviously Tino's kind of had a couple of interruptions. And I think that there's some big clubs out there that are going to need to upgrade in those departments. And it really wouldn't. I'm not saying they'll leave necessarily, but I think that either the interest will be there, there'll be a Fabrizio Romano tweet, or there'll be a bid. And by big clubs, lads, I'm saying a Man City. I'm saying potentially even a club or two in Spain who will need to upgrade in these departments. And it just wouldn't surprise me if one of those names popped up. The age profile is perfect. Talking about international fullbacks. And as much as I wouldn't like to see it, it just wouldn't surprise me that, for example, Real Madrid are mad for a right back now, right? Trent is being talked about. If Trent was to sign that contract, and maybe he will, maybe he won't, then suddenly they're still going to be looking for a right back. And when you start to look around for right backs, like there's plenty of them out there. But, you know, and I'm not saying Real Madrid are going to sign Tino Livramento. Like it's a big jump. But if the next 5 months go incredibly well, if Newcastle keep playing the way we're playing, if we do sneak into the Champions League, then I don't know. I'd find that some clubs could be looking at these guys, or even a Man City, for example, because their fullback situation is a bit all over the place.
Yeah,
but I hope it doesn't happen. Thoughts?
Yikes!
Stretch? Extreme?
Look, I'd be more worried about Hall. Tino, not so much. Hall, yes. If Alexander-Arnold signs a pre-contract with Real Madrid,
obviously,
then there might be a Hall on the other side. They like English players, specifically players like that. Like you said, the right age profile, his performances are excellent, and they could just come along with a whopping transfer fee, and we will accept it. I think everybody here knows, and everyone who listens to us knows, if the money is right, we will sell every player on this team.
But the money has to be mega money for fullbacks for both of them. They both cost just shy of 30. So Hall is 28. Tino's 35 million. You have to be doubling your money, bare minimum, to accept either of them leaving. So that's where I'm thinking. I don't think anyone will justify outlaying 70 million on Tino Livramento or 60 million on Hall just yet. But
I agree.
I pray it doesn't happen.
Links, that's what I mean. I don't think it will actually happen. But I think those names will come up. I think we'll see rumored interest or clubs testing our resolve, or, you know, if we're destined to keep Bruno and Isak and Botman and Tonali and Gordon and everyone, then I think you might get a club, for example, like a Man City, who I think they're going to need a right back, for example, right? Because Kyle Walker is just having an atrocious season.
Yeah,
they might just, you know, and again, it would be based on the assumption that we do play very well in the next 4 or 5 months, like Krisho said, and that we do, let's say, have a very good league finish. Because you see what happens, like Crystal Palace is a great example. When you finish the season strongly, all your players suddenly are getting all the interest in the summer because of recency bias. So, and again, I don't want this to happen. I do want them to play very well. I do want them to be in the limelight. Don't want the bids to come in, but it wouldn't surprise me if the links are put together in the summer. So that's a little prediction to start mine off.
Yikes.
Alan, prediction number 2 for you.
So this is a prediction that we won't do something. I'm predicting that we won't go down the same route of transfers as we have been with the Tonalis and the Isaks, where we're spending the 50s and 60 millions. I think we'll see us revert back to more 30 million-ish. Not going to be around 30 to 50 million. 50 million is still a hell of a lot of money for a player, but we won't break our transfer record between now and probably 18 months' time, because we'll change to trying to buy the 30 million pound players that we can mould into 80 million pound players. It's because we're up against such a fight against PSR. Like, it just doesn't work. So that's, I think, how it'll go.
How much would Bakayoko cost? How much would he cost?
40 million euro. So what, 35 million pound-ish?
That's a kind of a player, young, and we can get him into the system. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So what basically Alan's saying is he doesn't think that we'll break our transfer record, which means we won't let's say, spend 70 million, right? Because Isak is still our highest transfer ever at
67,
about
yeah,
70,
63,
67
yeah.
million in pounds, euros, etc. This is one, Alan, where I actually do hope this is true. I don't particularly want us to go and break our transfer record for the sheer reason that if we do, we'll only be able to sign one player. Because I just don't think we'll be able to afford it. If we are able to afford it, it would be alarm bells to me, because that would mean we've probably sold someone. And equally, I don't really want to do that either. So I see more value, more long-term, I suppose, value, and hope that we're investing in smart signings. And again, we get to sit here and talk about, well, if we're going to sell a Lewis Hall or Tino Livramento, we should be doubling our money. They're the players you want to sign, players who you could actually technically double your money on if they turn out to be that good. And if they turn out to be that good, either you can resell, which maybe we don't want to do, or they're just elite players for us, which sounds good to me, Alan. I'm on board with your strategy. Maybe we'll have to get you a job with Paul Mitchell being
I'll take anything.
Chris, your prediction number 2 for you.
Like prediction number 2, after some of the kind of scaremongering by you two, is okay. And everyone's going to be happy with this, all right? So I'm just going to lay it out here, right? Alexander Isak is going to sign a new deal in the summer, and it's going to be based off the fantastic second half of the season. Whether we win what cup, I don't know. And if we do become 3rd or 4th, I think Isak, I think he likes it here. I think it suits him. I think he likes the manager, that the manager's not too gesticulating and wild and off the rails. He's kind of a calm guy, Eddie Howe, and so is Isak. He doesn't overplay anything. He's a very cool customer altogether. I think he gets on very well with a lot of the guys in the team. You can see it. Okay, Newcastle isn't the bloody Riviera, but at least, he's playing good football, which means he must be living his best life up there, doing his best that he can. And I really do believe he's not gone on about it too much. I think he's not even flattered by the interest from Arsenal and other teams. I think he likes the project. He signed up to it. He's an honourable guy. He doesn't need to, unless, again, this is where, if Real Madrid comes in, these are all different stories, right? But I absolutely believe, without a doubt, that Alexander Isak will sign a new deal in the summer. And it'll be a long one. It'll be an extension, and he'll get a good bump in money. A very, very considerable bump in money. Nearly enough money to go out and get a new striker will be given to him in a wages bump. So everyone should be very pleased about that. So let's hope for a good second half of the season, and then Isak signs the dotted line in July, because it will be a very big deal. Let's be honest; it'll be a huge deal.
Oh yeah,
it'll be like a signing. Yeah. That's my second prediction.
I can't see this not happening unless we actually finish out the season poorly. Like if we continue we're not gonna. We've just gone and won 5 games in a row. We've had a perfect month. We're not going to do that each month. Well, we might, but I'd be surprised if we have a perfect month each month. But if we do continue where we are, if we do kind of finish within that top 7, even top 5, I see no reason why this wouldn't happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's also been verbally agreed to say we can't do it until the summer, because they need to get other players off the books. Start a PSR, etc., etc.
If we get the Champions League, he signs. If we don't get the Champions League, he signs for somebody else. I don't know who that is, but he signs for somebody else.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say as long as we get Europe in any way, shape, or form, he'll be happy enough to stay.
Yeah, I hope so.
I would question Conference League, and that's mainly because it's a bit of a joke of a competition this season.
But if you turn around to him and say, yes, we got Conference League, but we're going to go win it. I don't care what anyone says. If you say to someone, we're going to win a European competition, look what we've done for West Ham. Look what we've done for Roma. They won a European competition. Yeah, that's the end of it.
That's a fair point.
Interesting. Right. Okay. I like that prediction. Mine is also a little bit transfer related, and it's very closely connected. This is extreme. And again, in no way is this what I'd like to see happen. But I think if we don't get Champions League, specifically Champions League, I think that Bruno will be the one to go. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I think number one, I don't think Bruno particularly wants to go. I think he's at the age where he's peak value. He's at the age where he knows himself that he's at his peak, or not peak, but like prime. That if there was ever a time to go, it would be this summer. And again, on the assumption that we're not in the Champions League. Because I think after another year or whatever it might be, you might be less likely to see. And again, I think there's only 1 or 2 clubs that he would go to, the 2 in Spain and possibly Man City, but even at that. big question marks.
Mm.
And I think the club would also be tempted by it, again, considering his age and the potential price, let's say. But I think if we do get Champions League, we have a fully committed player who wants to captain us into the Champions League again, and wants to rectify us not qualifying from the group last time. It's not a question on Bruno's desire to stay.
Oh, no.
I just think that if we don't qualify, I think that for all the parties involved, a move just may come about. The money will come in, depending on what Man City do in January. And I just think it feels like it would all fall into place as much as it
would
really
make
don't
sense.
want.
Yeah. When you think about it, right? When you think about it, not getting the Champions League has a lot of ramifications. I mean, genuine ramifications that really could happen. We could lose Isak and Bruno. Okay, we'd have big money coming in, but the team that we're enjoying now and salivating over, they won't exist at the end of the summer, next summer, if we don't get Champions League. And that's the sad thing about this, but that's why I think they're all part of this project. Like I said, we have to get third or fourth. This fifth, sixth, seventh.
Krisha, do you want the good news, Krisha? Well, I'll give you the good news. And I'll jump the queue here, because my third prediction is that we actually will qualify for the Champions League.
All right.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I've jumped the gun there, but I jumped the queue, but it felt like the right time to reassure you here. I actually do think that we will get Champions League because of I think now, correct me if I'm wrong, lads, I think it's a 97% chance that England will get the extra Champions League place.
So long as, basically, I was reading the other day, so long as Villa don't absolutely shit the bed, which I actually don't think they even can. I think they're nearly guaranteed to qualify through. I think they were the ones that you were like, so long as they don't do badly, England will get the fifth spot. So sound Villa, thanks for that.
So I think third is a lot. I just think, as you said, we're in great shape now in terms of form and injuries. I just feel like there's still a lot of games and a lot of the season to go for just things to come along, or players to get injured, or depending on what goes on in the cups. I just feel like I wouldn't just go and say, wait, I think third is realistic for us. But is top 5 realistic for us? Yes, because we're currently fifth. And the other thing here that kind of makes me believe in this is how shit or how messed up some of the other clubs are. So if you look at what's going on with other clubs, like Spurs all over the place, Man United all over the place, Villa very up and down.
Yeah.
Then the other teams that we're competing for with space, like if you put Liverpool and Arsenal over here, Man City, who knows what's going to happen then, but you'd expect them to rally and potentially get back in that top 4. Can Forest keep it going? You wouldn't think so. Brighton are good, and then they're not. Bournemouth, they're flying, but again, in 5 months' time, do they have the quality of player to consistently keep doing this? It's absolutely there now for the taking, as it was 2 seasons ago when Liverpool were really poor and Spurs were really poor. Chelsea, the only other team we didn't mention, I think Chelsea are on course for a top 4. So that's why I'd say we could sneak into 4th, but even 5th, I think we'll do, because it'll get us in the Champions League. And if it does, lads, I predict a riot, because we'll be for again.
Absolutely.
Right, Alan, your third and final prediction, please.
This isn't a new prediction. This is something I said at the start of the season. I'm just reiterating the fact that we will win the Carabao Cup. We will beat Liverpool in the final. And we will finally give Eddie his first win over Liverpool as a Newcastle manager, winning the cup. It's going to happen.
Oh God, I would really like to see that happen.
Just to point it out, I booked my hotel for Wembley.
I remember this.
So that's how
I know another guy that has done the same as well. So I like
it's happening.
That would be the Knickerbocker glory to. This is. I mean, I haven't had one of them since I was a kid, but I can imagine what it would taste like. Delicious. That'd be the greatest thing that's ever happened. Because I can't remember, but the last time we played Liverpool in the final, I think it was 1974, and we lost 3-0. For all our older Newcastle clan, it was the FA Cup. But that brings me on to my prediction that I'm going to go a little bit away from what Al was saying. We're not going to get to the Carabao Cup final. Sorry, everybody. But we're going to win the FA Cup final. So we're going to win the FA Cup final, and we're not going to win the Carabao Cup final. We'll get to both finals, but we'll win the FA Cup final.
I'll take that. I give me anything. Give me a winning something. I just need to be able to ring people that I've been going to school with since I'm 5 years old. Say, we finally won something.
That's it.
Sorry.
Exactly.
Who are you?
Yeah, who's this? I sat beside you in tour class. Leave me alone.
Yeah. How do you not remember? Okay, I'm going to evaluate both your predictions. I mean, obviously now we're already in a semi-final, which helps, but I think of the two, I would say the Carabao is more within range, mainly because I think by the time it comes around, you'd hope that Liverpool don't care about it as much if it is Liverpool. And I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about like how the Carabao Cup final it's kind of coming back in terms of clubs and teams taking it seriously and just desire to win it. But if you were neutral, if it was Liverpool and Arsenal, you'd be like, meh, Liverpool and Arsenal, the Carabao Cup. Do either of them care about it? Are either of them going to remember that they won it in a year's time? Probably not. But if it was Spurs and Newcastle in the final, obviously you prefer to get Spurs because they're just a worse team than Liverpool. But both teams haven't won a trophy in God knows how long. Both sets of fans would be screaming for it. And it would be a far more enjoyable final in my view if it was that. And that's one of the main reasons I'd love to get Spurs, as well as the fact that I think we'd smash the shite out of them.
Yeah,
both clubs and both sets of fans, the desire is far stronger. It's probably a good segue before we finish up, lads, to do a quick preview on Spurs at the weekend. So we play Spurs. We're away from home on Saturday. It's a 12:30 kickoff away from home. And, Alan, you mentioned injuries there. I have it on my phone here. They have what looks to be 7 first-team players out injured. So they are going through similar. At one point for us, it was about 12 last year, but they're going through an injury crisis, not unlike what we had ourselves last year. Some of those names, lads, Mickey Van de Ven and Cristiano Romero, both first-choice centre-halves. Ben Davies, another one who, the goalkeeper Vicario. So their defence has been completely depleted. They do have obviously Dragusin kind of playing in there, but aside from that, I think Destiny Udogie picked up something.
Injured as well. Yeah,
I think he did a hamstring. Richarlison is out. Their young fella Mikey Moore is out. Wilson Odobert is out. They have a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
and added to that, the club is going through a bit of turmoil, and the fans are starting to slightly turn against Ange in terms of the way they play. Alan, I mean, we're just going to go straight into predictions, really. We know where we are. We know Shares is going to be suspended, so we expect that to be done and changed. So we won't try and predict our starting team or anything like that. But Spurs, you just never know. And they're a different team home and away as well.
I tell you what, I'm predicting come Monday morning at 9:30, Tottenham Hotspur's official Twitter account will be putting out the picture of the corner flag saying Ange Postecoglou has been relieved of his duties after we beat them 3-1.
Wow.
Woof.
There, the predictions just keep on coming, lads. Wowza.
Going all out for it.
I like it. I'm okay with it. Chris, what are your thoughts then on Spurs at the weekend?
Spurs are a weird team, because people are saying that Ange Postecoglou just keeps playing the same way. The same. There's no plan B. I know I was rambling on about Eddie and I have no plan B, but now he's got Sandro Tonali playing the way he should play. He doesn't need any other plans. But they're a bit of a banana skin because sometimes Tottenham are relentless and furious and very brilliant. And you're like, wow, check these guys out. They're really quite good. And then they go the next game and they're just a clown show. They get beaten 4-0 or something. You think, how did that happen? It's the same players. But with the form that we're at, the mood we're in, I'm with Al on this. We could absolutely crucify these. And I mean 4-0 halftime kind of thing. But I'm not going to go that heavy on it. I'm going to say that it's going to be 3-0 and it'll be 1-0 at halftime to Newcastle. They'll still get some chances, but we'll be, again, very clinical and have over 15 attempts on their goal. 3-0. And I don't know about Ange Postecoglou being sacked, but he might do. It's that time of the year.
He can't not be if that happens.
Yeah, I'll tell you this much: if we go and beat them 3-0 in their own stadium, that could get you sacked for sure. Yeah. But again, I think he does have that element of look how much players I have injured. He's got no depth. Their defense is just smashed to pieces with injuries. So I think that there's always that caveat. But again, you're losing 3-0 at home in the Premier League. It can be enough. I think this one has a shit ton of goals in it, lads. I think obviously we have a bit of change in our back line. Even though we've not been conceding a whole lot, Dubravka hasn't been tested. I still think Spurs at home do have a big attacking threat. Son hasn't been having his best season, but there's still goals in Son. Madison is another one who, again, on the big occasion. Kulusevski's been really, really good this season. He's been kind of playing as a 10. So we have in the past struggled when you've had a good number 10 playing against us. But again, we now have a good number 6. So I don't know, lads. I'm looking at like a 3-3 or we grab a late one for a 4-3. I'm going goals galore.
Goals galore.
Bananas. Yeah, that's where I'm going with that one.
Right.
I think whatever way you look at it, lads, it's going to be an interesting game on Saturday. First game of 2025.
It's a win-win-win.
Unbelievable.
It's a win-win-win.
We're going for wins. And just to finish on a positive for you, lads, in the last 5 games against Spurs, we have won 4 of them.
Delicious.
Just one little red blip where they beat us 4-1. But aside from that, we've actually won 4 of the last 5 against Spurs, home and away. So that bodes well, especially in the state that they're in. And fingers crossed we can continue this good run. And fingers crossed everyone else just drops points and we have another good weekend of results.
Yes.
Right. Well, on that note, I think we can bring episode 57 of the Irish Mags show to a close. We can't because we forgot to mention the meetups, Alan.
That's indeed. Just a really quick one. So naturally, naturally, we will be having our usual meetup in the Bleaker at come 12:30 on Saturday. But the wonderful Mr. Paul Slaughter is organising one for Quinlan's Bar in Blackpool and Cork for this Saturday. So if you're in anywhere near Cork, anywhere near Dublin, or anywhere in between, there's great trains in Ireland. Get yourselves into either of the meetups, please, and thank you. We always have a great old time. And Chris will show up.
I'll be there.
Oh, will you?
I'll be there.
Jesus.
I'm better now. I'm not sick anymore.
New year, new Chris show.
I'm going to hold him to this now. Yeah.
No, I'm there. I am there.
Right. No,
right.
You love it.
No.
Alan, you're in charge of Chris show because it's an early kickoff. That's a long day out for Chris show.
Stop! I know. It's ridiculous.
Al's he's the worst influence ever. No. Al, I look after Al.
I know.
Yeah.
Alan's all sensible, and then he'll disappear and just leave you, and he'll Houdini out the back door, and he's gone, and no one sees him.
I'm also the one that goes, do you know what's a great idea? Shots. And then go,
especially when it's 3-0 at half time.
Yes.
Right, well, enjoy all the meetups, folks. Cork and Dublin, or wherever you're watching it, and for anyone that's traveling, if you've been lucky enough to get a ticket. We'll be back next week. We're going to do a bit of a transfer special, seeing as it's January transfer window time. A lot of talks about players leaving, a lot of talks about potentially players coming in. So we'll break it all down on next week's show. It's great to be back, though, for 2025. Yes. Happy New Year to one and all. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Chris Show and Alan. As usual, folks, check out theirishmags.com for all the latest updates and pictures and everything going on in the Irish Mags community. And keep an eye down below for all the socials and all the links and all the fun. We'll be back next week. So until then, how are the lads? Slán, Guff Hole, and see you all very soon. Say goodbye, lads.
Slán, all you lads.